transition was hard for me from basketball because it's all that I knew back then. Thankfully, it was a good high that I think we chase now in the business world. But, it taught me so much.
Anything that I do going forward is going to be something that's fun and that excites me.
Yep.
Because it will allow me to do bigger, better things, not only quicker, but at a larger scale. And if you really think about it, things that I'm uncomfortable doing.
Lending is just a arbitraging capital.
Yeah.
Bring it in, pay out 8%, and you lend it out at 14 and 2 points. That delta is the business plan. I don't know how to, build a culture except through the core of who you truly are. You got to perform, and they'll take that business to the next level if you perform.
Welcome to The Big Break Show, your go-to podcast for real estate investing, business acquisition, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, let's dive into Season 2 with your hosts, Rafa Loza and Dan Tollens.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Big Break Show. Today, we are in a different studio, and I'm super pumped to show you guys what we got going on here today. As always, I am with my co-host, Mr. Dan Tollens. What's up, brother?
Living it.
How's life?
No complaints.
Yeah, we just spent 3 hours driving out here, so it's going to be a fun time. We got a good show for you guys today. Yeah. It's going to be a really good conversation. So we got Kelli here today. Kelli, you want to tell everybody who you are, what you're about, what you're doing, and why we're interviewing you today?
Yeah, sure. Kelli Garrett came from one beach to the other beach, from Carolina Beach to Charleston, South Carolina. So I live here locally in Charleston. We own a hard money lending company called Rehab Wallet. At the same time, really, I've always seen myself as a real estate investor, and a lot of people started seeing me as a lender, so I just started leaning into it, so I'm trying to. Hell
yeah.
So I'm kind of excited because I've known you probably for about 3 years, but I think this is the first time we actually have a conversation. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of excited to hear your story. I want to know how it is that you got into investing, because part of the new shift in Season 2 that we're doing here is talking about life after sports, life after college, getting into investing, helping people out there who want to transition into investing from either high school, college, or even ball players, right? Yep. So you want to touch on that a little bit, how you went from playing. First of all, actually tell everybody the sports that you were doing, yep, the life before actually even considering getting into investing,
yep,
and then how you transitioned into it.
Yeah, we'll go way back. Obviously, basketball was, like Dan, our life for a long, long time. Probably my identity for a long time. Probably till mid-30s, if I had to say. A little different, just because, there's nothing for little girls to do back then. There's no WNBA. Yeah, we could have went overseas and played, but it just wasn't what it is today, right? So decided after basketball just to start in and go to work, and ended up jumping in corporate America a little bit, and kind of fell in that blue-collar world just because, I grew up in a blue-collar world. I grew up on a small farm in the upstate of South Carolina, and knew what hard work was. And so I just went and started working hard at UPS and just ran the corporate ladder within UPS. Started loading trucks, driving trucks, and then I jumped into management and stayed there for about 12 years. So, the transition was hard for me from basketball because it's all that I knew back then. And when I graduated from the College of Charleston, it just finished. That last game, I can see it to this day. It's done. It's over. And then what do you do with yourself? It's different being an athlete and going to college instead of just being a student. I didn't know how to just be a student. I was bored to tears, missing basketball so much. It's thankfully it was a good high that I think we chase now we can get into that on the business world. Yeah. But it taught me so much. The confidence, making quick decisions, time management. It just teaches you so much. And I think I've just been able to take that and move that over into business and, get a scoreboard, try to have dreams and just move the passion I have for basketball. And I moved it over to business.
Yeah. That kind of was leading towards, talking about putting those skills into business and, coming from, being a team sport, yep, how has that helped you, build your teams out and leading from the front and not necessarily joining a team and, just kind of taking guidance, but actually being the one on the forefront of it?
The team aspect of that is huge, right? You need to learn other cultures. Where I come from, it was very white, country, backwoods type of environment, even my high school. and basketball helped me learn other cultures, and I was super interested in that. My two best friends of my life right now are Black, and I'm so happy about that. And we enjoy learning about other people's cultures.
Yeah.
So I'd say number one is just being able to get out and get your blinders off in life.
I love that.
So basketball helped me do that. The team aspect of it is, while I might have been, a player, decent player, good player, learning how to not be with other women, if you will, because women want to be catty a little bit at times. And, you got to share the ball. I had two things that I did really well, and it was distribute and I could shoot, right? But I needed my teammates to be, good rebounders and play defense and all the other things I wasn't great at. Actually, only be great at a few things, right?
Yep.
So being able to let my teammates be okay with me, being the All-American that I was, right? And not feeling weird about all that kind of stuff. So learning how to do that, I think. Learning how to just work well with others and understand that everybody's got their own little thing that they do and they do it well. And I think we've moved that over to business with not just my team that we have, but also my partners. I think my partnership, I've really learned how to, I don't step on your toes. You don't step on my toes. Let me do what I do really well, and you do what you do really well. We'll come back together monthly and have a meeting, and then we'll go back and keep doing things really well. I don't need to oversee what you do, and I don't need you overseeing what I do.
Yeah, that's something that Cassie and I've been hammering home is, everybody just stay in your lane. Like, she's really great at the design. I'm really great at the acquisition and the construction side of it. And sometimes I'm, trying to push things along, and she's just like, just stay in your lane.
Exactly.
And I think having that confidence to communicate it, one, and two, not letting it be a kind of a repetitive thing. So I also like your point of touching on how, sports really take the blinders off. Yeah. And I think that's what's beautiful about, us in real estate and this group and culture that we're in. There's so many different demographics, and there's also a lot of people in the world that, are very closed-minded.
Exactly.
And I think that for me, I can speak to the sport, background of it was, coming up kind of the polar opposite of you. I was the minority, playing sports, but it was great because it provided me a ton of culture, and then, traveling the country playing sports, and it's really helped in business as well.
Yep.
I'm glad you guys brought this point up. Actually, there's something, and we've never actually talked about this on the podcast, so I'm actually kind of pumped to talk about this a little bit. What it does being on a sports team, aside from learning how to be a team player, like you just said, right, and having partners. Let's talk about some skills that you've picked up, because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who are parents who are thinking, should I put my kids in sports? What if my kids don't like sports? Should I force them to be in sports, right? But let's talk about what sports teaches them, because like for me, I played sports throughout high school. I didn't play after high school, but like it taught me, friendship, like being good with others, same thing, like learning about other people, teamwork, but it also taught me discipline, right? Like, is there a couple skills that you think it might have like transitioned to where you're at now that you've actually gone, hey, if I had not played sports, would I have these skills right now?
I definitely think that it helped with being able to lose. Mm-hmm. Like, just like Dan, my number got called at the end of the game sometimes, most of the time, to take a shot at the end of the game, right? And sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't. Mm-hmm. And you got the whole team on your back. And if I would just lay down and got upset about it, I got a game coming back on Friday that I got to get over that event and move on to the next event and being able to produce on Friday because I just missed the last shot on Tuesday. So something like that, I think, is definitely knowing how to deal with, I guess, the lows and the highs, and not, when you're high, not to be too high, because somebody's going to knock somebody's going to remind you that you're not as good as you actually are, right? And usually a good coach will do that. Time management, I have to keep using that, and quick decisions. It's like with basketball, like, how do we know? It's a feeling that you have with basketball. How do you know when it's time to transition between your legs or spin around? How do you know that? You can't teach all that. So quick decisions. If somebody's, if a defense is playing X, you do Y. So lots of quick decisions, I think. And lastly, but not least, is to make a decision instead of just not make a decision. I tell my team all the time, I'm not going to get mad at you if you make a decision. I'm probably going to get upset with you if you don't make a decision and you're calling my phone 24/7 for me to make all the decisions. I'll be more upset with you if you just don't make the decision. So quick decisions, time management, dealing with other cultures, dealing with other people, and other just some people like to be pushed, literally like yelled in the face, and some people your teammates, you can't do it that way. And the same way with my team now, my employees now, some people, they're push button and they can get lit up with, let's go, and then that don't work for some people.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn how to do that within your own culture that you want to build in your business.
Dude, so many good points on that. Like a key kind of thing would be like fail fast, fail forward, right?
Yeah.
Like make a quick decision, whether it's good or bad. If you screwed up, you're going to learn from it, move forward, right? I love the decision on going back to this one again, because dude, I can't stand it. Like when I'm like, there's something that has to get done, and then like I'll go to bed and I'll leave somebody handling it, or like I'm busy and I come back and it's still sitting there.
Yeah.
Oh, you never got back to me. It's like, dude, can you decide?
Exactly.
Right? Like it has to get done. Make a decision. Like it's got to get done.
Yes.
Right. So I love that a lot. That's pretty good. What about you, dude? I've never asked you that before. Like, is there something that you picked up? Because I know you played sports too.
Yeah.
From playing
Just something
sports?
quick. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I would say just the determination to succeed, and knowing, like in basketball, you play so many games in a season that, more than likely you're not going to win them all. But if you're trained and have the right mindset, you're already further ahead than you would be. But yeah, I think also for me, I learned a lot from the coaches what I took away most from the coaches that I played for, which I played for some pretty fiery ones, was not necessarily how great they taught X, Y, and Z. It was more of how not to treat people. I left my first school on bad terms, but was told, one thing, and it kind of got switched around on me. I was like, okay, I'll never do that to somebody. And then the next school was at Division II and had a coach who was, had some unhealthy habits, we'll say, and the way that he would talk down to people or be racist or very demeaning, not only to players, but to his assistants. And so those are some things that,
That's great.
as you're a teen or young 20s, you're seeing that as your normal, right? Because you're trusting on this person to be who's coaching you or teaching you. And it's like, okay, I don't know if that's not really how I was brought up, but maybe this is a different side of things. And, that was big for me, just being an entrepreneur, how you want to treat people.
Not doing things that you had seen being done to you as a young man.
Right.
Yeah.
That's big.
Mm-hmm. There's something that you said specifically about knowing how to not manage, but knowing how to talk to certain people a certain way. Mm-hmm. That to me seems more of like a coach mentality, leadership mentality. I would assume not all players get that, right? You have to learn how to work with your team, but to know how to talk to your team and how to lead, like, where did that come from with you? I'm curious about that.
It took me a little while because I was a doer, and I grew up seeing a certain way in my household, right? My parents worked a lot. And growing up on a farm like that, you work before school and after school, so everybody was working all the time. And so I'm a doer at heart, but I switched it when I was ready to scale. And in order to scale, you can't do it. Your back is just so strong. I was ready to build a bigger team and get other people to do it. And I think maybe age started coming in on me, realizing that, hey, I can't do it all myself. Too, I just got out and about and started going to, more masterminds. I really wasn't a mastermind junkie at all. Still not. I really just attend one. But, we didn't grow up with YouTube. We didn't grow up with that kind of stuff. So I didn't see it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so about 2018, I started seeing a new light, and the light switch just switched on. And with that, I was able just to build a team out around me and quit being a doer. And I had to do a lot of things I flipped properties for almost 20 years and loved it, right? But I need to get out of that in order to scale. I was doing a lot of small-minded stuff, if you will. There was just a small team doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I sold everything, moved from my house into a really nice condo. So I wouldn't have, I had a truck at the time, sold my truck. I got into a more sporty car. I did a lot of things to get myself out of that because it's hard breaking through a lifestyle that I grew up with. And so when my parents and everybody comes and they see, I can see my dad doing it right now. He's a good, hardworking man. She's a hardworking woman, and now my dad's passed, but if my mom comes through here, they might think I don't even work hard. So I had to get through that. I had to get that one off that lifestyle off my shoulders in order for me to scale, because I knew I was capable of scaling. I just was doing it the blue collar way. In order to do that, I had to learn how to build a team out and use other people's skills.
But that's okay, right? The blue collar way.
Absolutely.
But that was the next step for you. There's different strokes for different folks, right? And I'm very similar in the blue collar way, and learning to remove myself from it. And so when we left Charleston 2 years ago, I said, I'm not reciprocating my builder's license up there. I'm just not going to do it. And it's been challenging at time. And now my son is older, and now he's wanting to figure out how to be a builder. And so I said, well, I'll reciprocate my license up here, and then you can work under it, and we'll see if it works. But I don't want to get back into the daily grind of it. It is a resource for us to use as a team, but for us it was trying to get what's that next level.
It is absolutely a mindset shift if you want a certain goal, if you will.
Sure.
Right? I knew that I could not do that myself in the way that I was doing it, because I was already working a lot physically, making great money, but it wasn't at the potential. I always want to be what's my best version of Kelli Garrett, right? I knew it wasn't, but I was working a ton of hours. So I was like, how in the heck am I going? There's no more hours in the day. So in order to do that, I had to completely shift everything. And that was to really scale and build out a team and let them help me.
But you learn so much along the way from all the reps, right? To be able to, when you're scaling, you can scale that much faster from all that experience.
Absolutely. And develop others too, and be the guidepost for them.
Yeah. I love that a ton. So trending topic always in our podcast episodes is masterminds. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't want to get into it super deep, because we say, we tell everybody, join a mastermind.
Yeah.
Like, join a mastermind. Yeah. It's really the catalyst of my success and like where I'm at, why I'm at where I'm at now, and the people that I'm around. Like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these masterminds. And so you said something about a mindset shift and, being the person that leads the team and changing your mindset from before to what you're doing now, right?
Yep.
To being the one working, so to speak, on growing and just being a better version of yourself. Did that start when you joined a mastermind, or was that something that you just kind of started figuring out and then you met someone? Like, I want to know that. Like,
okay.
Let's talk about that.
No, that's a good question. I was ready. I feel like it's always like, what's the Bible say? Something like the teacher will come when the pupil's ready, or something like that. And I really feel that way. It's like I was ready, and this is going to sound really strange, but I started jumping on YouTube and found Grant Cardone. And I know a lot of people love him or hate him, but the man is a worker, right? Mm-hmm. He gets some stuff done. And I kind of, not to some of the showiness, but I like his style. I just like it. And so I found him probably 2012. I started going to some of his events, and I just looked around like, if these young bucks can do this, I can do it, right? Yeah. And then I went from there to, it took a second, it took a minute to get my mind around it, and then just studying, but it wasn't a true mastermind. Yeah, I enjoy and love, he's a great friend of mine. Tim Brotz is a great friend, and we all been part of his Legacy Family Mastermind. It's the only one we go to. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't that. It's more of, I think I was ready, and I just needed to go get the information at that time. Now, cut to 2018. I met a guy, and I think it's always the people that go back to the people that you're around and want to surround yourself with. Oh, yeah. I just couldn't find it. I don't know. And went to a breakfast meeting one morning in 2018 and met a young guy, and his name's Danny Bazzo. And we've become great friends, and his mind is huge. He's probably 20 years younger than I am. Love him and his wife. And we do a lot of things with him now, and great friends, but his mind's huge. And end up partnering with him, and that's how we started Rehab Wallet. And I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was just the timing. Because I can get some stuff done now. I can get it done. I just wanted to, like, let give me, for example, let's just say we're talking about making, I don't know, let's just say $1 million in a day. In a year. His brain would be like, how can we make $1 million in a year, in a day? So we were talking about making $1 million a year. His brain goes, how can I make that in a day? And then you just kind of like work backwards on what's the product that you can do to make that in a day. Now, granted, we talk about a t-shirt factory one time. I can never forget it. And he doesn't think about a small factory one-off. He thinks about the cargo ships that's going to run it to China and buying 4 cargo ships and running the cargo ship back to Charleston Port. His brain is huge. And I was just ready for that, to hear that. And so we partnered up. They raised a bunch of capital, huge numbers, and we lend it out now. So Danny was a big, big, big part of that transition in my financial life. Yeah.
Okay.
And you were ready for the challenge.
I was ready for it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I could do it I don't know that I've never thought that I could do what we're doing now by myself. And I don't know why. Now, granted, I was already, making 7 figures, but I knew that wasn't my best version of myself. I knew there was something else to go give it a whirl before I'm done. I was telling Dan, I'm, not quite 60, but, how much more physical time do I have? Like, let's say you're going hard to your 80, right? So I got 20 good long years, let's just say, because I never retire. But you really want to really go after it. I want to see what my best version is, because I don't want to be on my deathbed of some sort or on whatever and having any regrets. I'm just going to lay it out there, see what hit. Yeah. It's just my style. Yeah. So.
I love what you're saying. What was it like last year? Aside from this whole like big mindset thing, I absolutely love that. But what you're saying now about just being the best version and doing everything full out, that's something that I was talking to Lorraine about, my girlfriend, and even I think I mentioned it to you a couple times, is last year I set out to say two things. I want to do anything that I do going forward is going to be something that's fun and that excites me.
Yep.
Because it will allow me to do bigger, better things, like not only quicker, but at a larger scale. And if you really think about it, things that I'm uncomfortable doing. Yep. Right? Because if you do something that you're uncomfortable with, it's exciting. You don't know what's going to happen. Right? And I kind of resonate with what you're saying right now a lot, because it's like, I want to do big things and I want to have fun. And I don't know if I'll ever retire, because like, if you're doing fun and exciting things, you're not really working. You're doing what you enjoy, right?
Yep.
And it's similar to what you're saying now. So yeah, that's awesome. You want to shift the conversation a little bit? I know you had some questions that we talked about.
Yeah, I do. Let me see here.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the mastermind thing. Like, we talk about it so much.
No, I get it.
And talk about like the mindset stuff. So
let's shift. So to kind of keep in that mastermind realm, we've talked about having basically alliances with folks that you're not necessarily partners with, right? So you guys host a local meetup, and it's huge here in Charleston. It's, at least 100 to maybe 300 people at this point. There's plenty of people in there that you like and you encourage. There's most of the people you're probably not going to work for or work with, I guess I should say. But I think just having that abundant mindset of like, hey, we were talking with somebody the other day about, let's help you save years off of your life by not going through so much. But I think it also like helps people feel encouraged to go for whatever it is that they're trying to go for. You know what I mean? So I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about some people that, have either affected your life that way, or you feel like maybe you've touched some folks and helped them kind of, move the needle a little bit, whether that's with your clear vision coaching. I think, I'm definitely one of those success stories. It was a very moving event for, me and several people. So.
Absolutely. It really was. And thank you for being so vulnerable that day.
By vulnerable, she means I cried.
Clear vision coaching, I'll just start there. Clear vision coaching, I did it for about 8 years and coached a lot of entrepreneurs. Stopped this year, and it was just time for another group to come in and do that, right? Okay. Loved it. I hope that I've touched a lot of people's lives, and the same thing has happened to me. Like they've touched my lives. I've just enjoyed seeing them flower. It was hard to stop it, but at the same time, I knew if I'm going after some other personal goals of mine, I was doing a lot of one-on-ones and a few masterminds that Dan was able to come in and talk to us and share his story. But that was a big deal, giving back, right? Like we talked about different people's given to me, whether it has been coaches. My mom and dad are huge influences in my life. A lot of people have been influencing me, and I felt like it was just time for me to now give to them. Now, the REI Central that we, Dusty Keefe, myself, Troy Ganny, Russ Scheider, we run this thing on a monthly basis. And then we have those subgroups, kind of like church has small groups. That's kind of the way we kind of did it. So we'll have first Thursday of every month here in Charleston. a big group, big group comes in and networks, and then have small groups the off weeks. And so whether we break it up into a commercial group or a landlord group and a flipping group.
Flip, yeah.
So, that is our way, I think, is to give back. We don't make any money on that thing. It's the way we can give back, as well as have our businesses sponsor it. And we get a lot of business from that. But it's to be that person like y'all. Y'all are great influences on young men. And I hope that I am too on young women. And they're here seeing y'all and just want to replicate it. I wish I had something to replicate back in the day. We had 3 channels. I mean, Dan, you're maybe a little older than this guy. So, you got you didn't see it.
Yeah.
So it had to be somebody in my community. So maybe I was trying to emulate, Mr. Barnes, who was probably the richest guy in Easley. And I just loved him to death and loved his family. And I wanted to understand a little bit more about him as a little girl. And it was just odd. But he was a good man, too.
Mm.
And in terms of your, I want to talk about your meetups a little bit.
Yeah.
Did it prompt wanting to help people? Is that what prompted it? And then what made you structure it in terms of having the small ones? What came, how did that come about? Because a lot of times when you do meetups, it's because I used to host a meetup, but it was based around short-term rentals or hospitality, vacation rentals. Mm-hmm. So you've done so many different things. Did you partner with people to teach certain things at certain times, or just kind of help out? Is it teaching? What is it about?
Well, the way the main group is, it literally is, welcome, and then everybody network. So got a attorney in town, Mark Weeks. He pays for all the food. So everybody just comes and eats, and then they have to buy their own drinks. And I usually it's their group. I don't want it to be just about Kelly or about Dusty, right. I want it to, or Troy or Russ. I wanted it to be more about them. So I usually have a panel of some sort and bring somebody else to sit on the panel, and I'll just maybe do Q&As with them.
But also the group that started it was in so many different, Russ was doing fix and flip. Somebody else was in wholesale. Somebody else is a private lender.
It's been successful because all 4 of us run that thing. And we started it because none of us wanted a job, right? So we kind of switch off every once in a while. So, but Dusty has a following. I have a following. Russ, and everybody brings their own little different thing to it, where I handle the commercial and the multifamily group. Mm-hmm. When we go cut. And so then we were able to take the next young person and be like, hey, will you run that commercial? I'll be there with you, but you run it every single month. We'll run the main group, but you young guys come on in and start your own little small group, right? And it's been good to be able to let them, because everybody, I hate to say it, but it's true. A lot of people want to be seen, want to be in front of the class and teaching and guiding, and it had to be the right person that could guide our people that come to it.
Yeah.
But we wanted to kind of pass that torch to them.
I brought this up because something that we've talked about briefly is how successful people always want to help other people be successful, right? There's always this scarcity mindset where people just don't want to share information. And it's the people that really aren't successful yet.
Right.
It's a trending thing, right? The more successful you are, the more you want to give to people. The better off you get off, you realize, hey, if I can help more people do better, in turn, it's going to come back and help, right? You're very, very giving. I love that. I appreciate you sharing that, and that's cool. And I want to bring it up on the podcast because I know we have some audience that might want to be a part of it as well. So I want to talk about a little bit about the actual business side of things now, in terms of how you went into real estate, fix and flips. I know you touched on it a little bit in the story in the beginning, but how did that transition to becoming this giant company that you have now for lending and stuff like that?
Well, in 2018, I told you when that light switch went on and met Danny. I ended up selling. I probably had 350 something around Charleston. Oh, wow. My wife and I. And so sold them all. I'd had them for 15, 16 years. There were a ton of small single family, small multifamily, little trailer park. And I sold everything. And took that, and I took 2 buckets of money from that money. And I said,
can we stop there for a second before you go any further? I'm actually curious because I've never had anybody on the podcast, I don't think we have yet, where did you sell it as a portfolio, or was it individial sales?
No, individually.
Can we talk about how you structured that, if you don't mind, and how the sale actually looked?
Yeah, that'd be great. I just took one house at a time and started selling them. Right. Kept my multifamilies to the end. My trailer park was the last thing that I sold, because you got to have some income coming in as you do this just departure of this portfolio, if you will. But no, I didn't sell it to one person. I just sold off a ton, and it took about 1.5 years to get it all sold. But I wanted, again, that was part of my decision of moving in this new world of scaling. And I knew, and I took those 2 buckets of money, took the big money, and I put it in 2 buckets. One bucket went to start private lending out of, and I started private lending out of it. And I had started a mortgage company back in 2000, about 2000, 2009. So I had that experience. Okay. That was the first company I ever started. And then the other bucket of money I started, of course, I still wanted real estate. I still needed the depreciation. So I started investing in syndications with other operators. Now I don't have to operate it. I'd had my 20 years of operating experience, kind of getting burned out, right? Moving into this new Kelli world. I just felt like I needed to do that. And that was my decision. Everybody doesn't have to follow that decision, but that's my personality. Let's do it and do it big, cut it off big, and start something else real big. So those 2 buckets of money started my private lending world, not Rehab Wallet yet, but private lending. And then I started, again, taking that money and I put it with Danny's company. It's passiveinvesting.com. He and Dan Hanford run that, and I knew him. I trusted him. I kind of had dated him and his wife for a little while to make sure they just weren't crazy, because I'd worked hard for that bucket of money, right?
Yeah, of course.
20 years of my life, I had, Sunshine and I worked super hard for it. So I was like, am I going to just hand this over to some 35-year-old? So I spent a lot of time like courting him, seeing if it's the real deal, and they are. So a lot of that's where that started, that syndicate. So I'm passively investing in real estate now. And then for my private lending morphed into Rehab Wallet.
Okay.
And so it did that by, Danny and I were talking one day, and he's like, well, how's the private lending going? And I said, well, I ran out of money. I mean, I think I had like $3 million in this bucket. And they don't take long in Charleston. No. I mean, 10 deals and you're 300,000, you're done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I said, that started the partnership. I said, if you guys can raise capital, of which they had become amazing capital raisers, I'll build out the team and I'll put it on the street. And so that started it in 2020.
That's awesome. Can you touch a little bit more of how Rehab Wallet works? Because you just gave the overview of they raise the money, you lend it out. But if you don't like going into the details of it and how people actually use the money.
Yeah. Lending is just a arbitraging capital.
Yeah.
You bring it in and pay out 8%, and you lend it out at 14 and 2 points. And that delta is the business plan. I don't know how to say it any day. Now,
that's perfect.
You want to raise $100,000. Now, the short-term lenders, this is what we want to do. We want to do 6 months. So I wanted to raise capital, let's just say $100,000, and I want to use that $100,000 twice. So now I can make 14% interest annually, 2 points my first 6 months, and 2 points my second 6 months. Yeah. So now I'm at 14, 16, 18%, right? Yeah. I'm paying out 8. My delta now is about 10. Okay, now I got to pay employees and I got to pay, whatever, all your expenses.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, so it is super profitable, but it's profitable when you can raise, we've raised $140 million in the last 4 years. And it's super profitable when you can then go over here and put it on the street. So we've done about 330 million in loans. Wow. With that 140 million. You see, I've used it almost twice. Wow. A little over twice, actually. So that's awesome. Hard money lending, if you will. You're arbitraging capital every day. Yeah. You got to have some super detailed people. We have about 9 amazing women because we
I was wanting to touch on that. That was one of my points was to talk about your team and it being a primarily all women workforce and how exciting that is for you guys.
You know that. Yeah. It's good. Yeah. Do you have children? I can't remember if y'all have children yet.
Not yet.
It's not set up just to hire women. It just happens to be, just think about the paralegals y'all have worked with and it's very, and I say paralegals because that's who we deal with a lot. Paralegals happen to be women. Lending back office people happens to be women because it's super detailed. I mean, all your docs, everything have to be very, very, very detailed. Right now, I got 9 exceptional women that are super detailed and that you have to be in this world. You have to be really detailed.
That's cool.
So, we tout that and love that. But I don't see, like, if I had forward thinking, like, I love working with guys, Yeah, I told you I started out at UPS, which was 99% men, and managed about 1,000 of them. So I know exactly how to manage them. I love got amazing brothers and grew up with a bunch of guys playing ball. So I see a sales force of 2 or 3 other guys at some points, because guys really are great, and other flippers happen to be men most of the time, and they're going to relate more to guys than they do a female at times. Yeah.
But your team's extremely close, right? This is not just a simply work relationship.
No, it's not.
Business, right?
We went and when we started building the team out in 2020, I have an amazing COO. We were college teammates together, played AAU basketball. I've known Angela since I've been like 15 years old. We've known each other for 40-something years. So when she was moving back to Charleston, I was like, dude, I need you to work, we need to work together. Yeah. We have lots of fun. I know her family, we've grown up together. So she runs the group, if you will, but the rest of them have been handpicked. Yeah. I had, like I told you, I had owned a lending company in the past. Mm-hmm. So I went back to them. They were now working in banks and certain things. So I went back to them. Angela had 30 years of experience in corporate America too. So she went and plucked. And you hate to say it, but that's just what you do, right? You go find, and I always say, if people know, like, and trust you, right? And they begin to trust you, they will follow you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you got to do the right thing throughout the years and not, manage them correctly like those coaches, right? Yeah. You bailed on him because he didn't treat you right. Mm-hmm. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So, if they don't treat you right, you got to go. Yeah. And we want to treat them right in the former companies, and then they'll follow us to other companies we might.
That's cool. Do you have like a culture set up to where, because talking about treating employees right, and like something I'm currently working on with like my team is just kind of getting better at the culture and the values of the company and stuff like that. How was there something that you had to go through to set that up, like within your business, to have that type of culture where it's like, hey, this is not just where you come to work, you clock in, you clock out, and you leave. Like, this is a family. This is like us together. Like, how did that come about?
The virtual thing is difficult these days. I love it and hate it in the same sentence, right? I prefer an office where you can, especially in something like lending or real estate, you get somebody and they go get a deal or something and they want to, ring a bell or you just high five, like, yeah, good job. Yeah. You miss that on this virtual world. So what we do, and everybody at Rehab Wallet works virtually, but at least one time a month, we come here and everybody flies in or drives in one time a month, because we got to lay our hands on everybody, hug up, happy birthdays. People's had, you've had babies, we gotta, I just think it's super important that you at least grab them one time a month, at least. Yeah. But yeah, I think that it shows the culture comes from us internally, right? It'll how they've come to work for you for a reason. Yeah. And I don't know how to, build a culture except through the core of who you truly are. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Do the right thing. When I say, the better the company does, the better you'll do. You got to perform and you got to deliver on those bonuses and that kind of thing. Yeah. And they'll take that business to the next level if you perform. Yeah.
That's key.
It is.
That's key. You as the leader, you have to show and you have to be able to perform and you have to make them understand that it's not just them and you're not just sitting on your butt watching TV as they do all the work.
No. They know that y'all will jump in. I'll jump in when needed. If we have to be the doers of the task, we can jump in a heartbeat. But we can't stay in there too long. Again, I'm new Kelli, right? We can't stay in there too long. We got to get out and be the visionaries and be the leaders to be able to see and work on the business, that in the business.
And grow it.
That's right.
Correct. I love that. I want to, before we change the conversation here a second, I want to touch a little bit on Rehab Wallet again. Does your team go out and do they find, is it just all relationship based on who you're lending to? Or do you guys have like a platform where somebody can come and go, hey, I got this deal, can I borrow money type of situation?
Yeah, we do lots of all three probably. Okay. Again, Rehab Wallet was started from me. And so it's built off my culture. And my culture was, let's go to meetups. Let's go make relationships. Again, just because we didn't have social media when I started, right? So when I started a long time ago. So I like the face-to-face. So we sponsor a lot of events. we have our booths and we have our gear on, and we just go hard, just the way that I know. Now that has gotten Rehab Wallet where it is today. To move forward, we know that we just got to have a bigger social media presence, and we've really, really, really worked on it this past probably 12 months. And because now I can see loans coming through, and I have no idea who they are. For the first 2 years, I knew everybody.
Oh yeah.
And everybody was in Charleston. It was everything we loaned on was within probably 2 hours from here. Yeah. And now if you want to scale and want to get bigger, you got to do some different things. So you can just be at so many meetups, right? So now it's social media. Now it's that. Now it's of course we've built out a big platform, and they can go on and click.
They can go online and put in their deal, right?
Yeah, they can go rehabwallet.com/borrow, upload your deal there, and then it comes into our inbox.
Okay.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
It's not. They're not texting you about a deal anymore.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
It's too much. Yeah, I was talking to somebody on the phone before we started, and it's a great friend of mine, and he's like, "Well, let me tell you, no. I need you to go to rehabwallet.com, click the bar
Follow
button,
the process.
follow it, because you don't tell him me. It's 2 people deep from me anymore.
Yeah.
So between the time that I call, I take the information and then I call, which it's not going to happen because, again, the new Kelly's not going to do it that way.
Yeah.
The old Kelly would have been like, yeah, tell me about it. Yeah. And then I'm going to call on and I'm going to screw it up because I've missed some information somewhere. Yeah. And so now I just divert them. I got to do it that way.
Dude, that's so cool. We were talking about that on the last conversation, how I kept making myself, because I do some co-hosting now and like some management for like vacation rentals and stuff like that. But the guys that own the properties still want to call me. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I'd like, even if you ask me a question, I don't know the answer. Because like, I'm not the one doing the work anymore. Like, call the team. Here's the phone number. They'll take care of you just as well as I would, but they actually will do better because they know what needs to get looked at.
And then they'll bring you in if needed.
Correct.
Needed. Yeah. Exactly. And isn't it funny how it's just, I've gotten a lot better about it. But that's that transition I'm talking about. If we're going to scale, that's the last thing that you can do on a daily basis is take that call. But you don't want to mess, you don't want to piss off a customer. You don't want to do this. But at the same time, I honestly have learned that they respect it.
Yeah.
You had to break them at first.
Yeah.
But once you get it, they just respect it because he was like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not only that, too, it kind of makes it a little bit more, let's call it professionalism,
100%.
right?
It's a business.
It's a business. Correct? They go, okay, this is legitimate.
Would he do that at Bank of America? Would he do that at a big short-term rental company? No.
Correct.
They don't even know who owns that place.
Right. Correct.
That's where my head goes sometimes. I want to truthfully be the founder of the company. The culture has been set, and now it will continue to scale with or without me because we got to remember also, what happens if something happens to me tomorrow? I don't want it to be so dependent on us.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Actually, lately I've been looking to buy a business, and a lending company came across the table, and I knew nothing about it. And like now talking to you, I'm like, oh my God, all this that I looked at actually makes a ton of sense. And they were super hands off, and they were able to exit the company because it was like fully automated already, literally to what you're talking about. Which actually leads me to the next question I wanted to ask you: how has scaling changed the business aside from you no longer being in the day to day? Is there anything? I mean, you kind of answered it already, but is there anything else specifically that you can touch on? Because like as I started scaling the business, a bunch of stuff started changing. And a little bit of the quality dropped. We had to work on that at scale and kind of implement different systems and processes and teach people different things. Is there anything specific that comes to mind for your business where you're like, hey, now that I'm at scale, like aside from you no longer being on the phone like you just explained, anything else that you think that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, first and foremost, you got to scale, what's the word I'm looking for? But slowly.
Yeah, at the right pace. Correct. Yeah.
What I have found is that there's a few people that might know too much. Meaning, if something happened to her, like the cross training right now, and Angela does a phenomenal job with it. Is that we need 2 or 3 people deep in case something happens because at first you have 2 people. Typically they're not going to leave. But then when you get a bigger team, somebody's going to leave. Somebody's just going to leave, or somebody's going to have a baby and need, 2 months off, or things happen. And so, and life happens. And so is that maybe 1 or 2 people might know only how to do this. So if something were to happen to her, my goodness, I have $130 million worth of investors' money that rides on my back.
Right.
1 key employee. It's too much with 1 key employee.
That's huge. That's actually I'm glad you brought this up. That's a huge point. I have one girl on my team, and she does all my day to day, and she got sick, took a couple days off, and I was like, oh
How
my
do you
God.
even get out?
Yeah, I was
stuff
like, what's
that.
happening right now?
Yep.
And so now I was like, hey, let's start training other people on the team as backup. If this person takes a day off, goes on vacation, we shouldn't have to pause everything.
Nope.
Everything should be able to still flow
Yep.
smoothly because we have someone to take over.
So as
That's huge.
we scale, we're just working on heavily cross training so that one person does not know just one thing.
I love that. That's huge. Great advice. Jeez.
That's where we're at with Rick, with the dumpster business. It's like we've got to get him some help.
Yeah.
And that way, if something happens or if he's sick or wants to take time off, it's not falling on somebody that's not properly trained or ready. And it also alleviates a stress and pain point, on that person. So they don't feel so much pressure being the only one that's doing whatever that task is.
Exactly. It's so true. And, you got to scale big enough. There's a time and a place for all that. You got to scale big enough where there's enough revenue to take care of that other person, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two people deep between us. I think that's so important because for all those other years, the pre-Kelly, it was always if Rick needed to go on vacation, Kelly had to do it. I'd have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Angela came on, then it was like, well, then Angela would have to do it. When now we've worked where Angela didn't even have to jump in because there's 3 other women trained on every single task. So again, it's been some work, been some progress. It did not happen overnight, and we're still not perfect at it.
Yeah.
But the stuff that we're working on during the scale.
I love that. And, you'll never be perfect at it.
Nope.
Because the bigger you get, the more problems arise and the more fires you have to put out, right?
That's right.
Systems have to be put in place. I want to talk about, I know we're getting close to the end here, but briefly, let's talk about social media.
Okay.
It's a huge topic, right? AI, all this stuff.
Okay.
I know you, and I bring it up because I know you said that now you guys have like kind of a following, and I'm sure you guys are acquiring clients through social media.
Yep.
So how has that affected the business, and what are you guys doing now to protect against AI? Like, is there anything that you guys are doing specifically? And even if you're not, like, are you guys using AI in the business?
Maybe only on some content piece of it.
Okay.
So we're not too deep in it. We got to be, again, really careful. We have to abide by a lot of SEC rules and to make sure we don't violate any rules there because we're using, 506C fund. We're in a debt fund. So lots of rules that you have to stay in on the investor side. But no, AI is not become anything yet with us. It's something that, it's on my mind. I'm not super technical either. Again, the company goes through the flow and the core of who the leader is, and I'm not real technical. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, I have an amazing marketing department that handles that and has been staying on top of that if and when we need it. We use a lot for content. Other than that, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. There's all kinds of worries about AI nowadays, and I think this is the first time we actually bring it up, which I might actually make it a trending topic here, and let's just talk about it now because it's starting to come up, and I know a lot of people, like I use it a lot. I don't use it as much as I used to, but like it was a big part of our business, and so a lot of people, like for example, safe words with family, like that's a thing now. You have to have a safe word with your family because somebody can mimic your voice now. Like, what on earth is happening, right? So there's certain things, and I as long as it's on the radar, I guess, right? It makes sense because at some
and fraud has always been on the radar of the lending world because there's a ton of it. Yeah. And in August of last year, we opened up another long-term lending arm called Consistent Capital with Whit McCarthy. He's a partner over there in that arm, and he runs that and has a phenomenal staff of people over there. On that side, of course, we're getting bank statements and W-2s if needed and that kind of thing, credit and that kind of thing. So on the Rehab Wallet side, I'm very asset-based, meaning I got to like the borrower and I got to like the asset that you're buying. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got to like that. That's only two. Remember, I flipped for 18 years. If I take it back, I'll just take it back.
Yeah.
So, and you're only in it with me for about 6 to 9 months anyway. So that's not a concern. But over here, we have to be concerned. So fraud's always eyes wide open with fraud because people are always trying to send you a bank statement that they have manufactured. Yeah. Not always, but some things. So and I know AI is a big piece of that. Mm-hmm. So there's software out there right now that we're looking at that instead of us physically having to, or a person having to look through the bank statement, you can send it to the AI program and they can scan it and be like, no NSFs, bank balance is X, and it's back up in like 4 seconds, you got information back. That's cool. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking through right now.
I love that. Around your lending, Just really quick, because I know money's always an issue with people in investing. What states? Is it just specific areas? Where are you lending? I just want to throw that out
typically
there for
we're
the
in
world.
the Southeast, but not Florida. There's a long reason why. It's a lot of long foreclosure process in Florida, so we stay out of Florida. We've kind of pocketed in Ohio for whatever reason. We found a few borrowers there, so we follow the borrowers.
Okay.
So mostly the Carolinas, Georgia, dabbled in Virginia, Tennessee, and Ohio.
Okay.
And not a lot of Northeast. We're doing a little Pennsylvania for Dan Rivers and his group right now. But we follow the borrower.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you guys are, y'all are experienced and you're doing, a little business Carolina Beach or a lot of business Carolina Beach, but yet you find a great deal in Tennessee because y'all visited there, whatever, right? I would follow the borrower.
Okay.
If he's doing a great job at Carolina Beach, he's going to do a great job in Tennessee, wherever he goes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts before we get to our final segment here?
No, I think we're ready for the last few questions here.
So the last 10 minutes we usually take, I don't even know where we're at with the time. I can't see the clock here, but we always ask 3 questions. And so being that this is the big break show, we want to know, is there a defining moment in your life that you would consider your big break? Anything that got you from old Kelly to new Kelly, even from it currently, something that clicked in your head that you're like, because of this, it amounted to this.
Yep. I mean, I've kind of already touched on that a little bit with finding Grant on YouTube. So I would say him being a virtual mentor is what I kind of call it.
Okay.
I have a mentor here, Tony Barini. He owns a ton of commercial property.
Okay.
Spent a lot of time with him. I can remember the first time he never has charged me a dime. Never. He's just a great guy. And so he what I wanted to see from him, I wanted to see his dream board. That was the thing with him. I know how to work. To be honest with you, I don't know, especially in my 20s and 30s, you probably couldn't outwork me. Maybe now, physically, but not then. So hard work, you don't have to tell me about that. You don't have to tell me about discipline. I got all that figured out.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just, again, moving into that new Kelly thing, what does a guy or a female, whoever, what do they have on their dream board? I didn't even know. Sometimes this just sounds so corny. Like I might have had, I don't know, whatever on my dream board. And then I don't know that I was even dreaming big enough because I was so old school and so in the community that I was raised in. I didn't know once I be able to travel where I want to travel, do what I wanted to do. I didn't know how to even dream different. Yeah. And so it helped me see his dream board. And it wasn't what you think it is. It's not like the watches and the flying private. I'd already done that, right? It was like having walks in nature, daily walks in nature. Love, go on a date with my daughter.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what I'm saying?
Things that matter.
Things that really, really matter. Yeah. And that's what kind of jumped up in my head was that his dream board was not where as a whatever 6-7 years ago when I was thinking it was X, it wasn't. It was so far different from that.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you have somebody that you can follow and do. So I would say that was a really, really change in my life, with that. It's not materialistic stuff. It's not the money. It's what that money allows us all to do.
I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. That's great.
So our next question is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? You're new to this. So
I think, again, I was looking for something different from different people. And I learned that it's not what you look like. It's not your intellect. It's not any of that. It's grit and perseverance. It's like that has been the two things. If we can master that, right, and grit it out year after year. I've owned this real estate investment group I've been running something like that for 25 years. First Thursday of the month for 25 years, over and over and over again. I think that's what grit and perseverance means to me. Going to these meetups for decades, and you just grit it out. And at time will take care of itself, and the momentum will hit. But what happens is in the early years, a lot of times, especially now with social media, everybody's like making money, then spending the money and not letting it all momentum and get that big carry on as it goes on down the hill. Right. So I would say that it's not what I thought it was once I got to the hilltop. It's, enjoying time with your families. It's enjoying every minute of your day, having the freedom that you want, and just, grit and perseverance. It's not, people will judge you when you walk into the door, right? People will judge you regardless. So, I used to kind of get caught up into that, like, what do they think? And I've just gotten through that I just stay with what I've always done. And that's just grit it out and have tons and tons and tons of perseverance that, that'll last me for a lifetime.
That's great. That's really good. Final question. I had a bunch of comments behind that, by the way, but I know we're getting, I could talk for another hour with you right now.
That's awesome.
But the final question here is, can you give the listeners an actionable step or something to, like, if they made it all the way to the end right now and they were to turn this off, they can literally take a step and go do something in the right direction towards real estate, lending, mindset, vision, whatever it is that you want to give here?
Yeah. With some of my coaching students, I'd always say two things. First of all, what's your goals? Know your goals and write them down every day. I guess I probably should have said that earlier, that was something somebody taught me. I can't even remember early on as a little girl, whether it was how many points I'm going to score today. I'm going to go to play at Eastside High School in Greenville, and I'm going to score 26 points today. Whether I got to or not, whether I did it, that was a goal. Or at the end of the year, I came to the College of Charleston, and I've always been this way. I don't know where I got it from, but College of Charleston, I'd look at those. When I first came here, there was like little booklets of guides, like media guides, right? And it'd have like most points scored, most assists, and whatever, and all the records, right? And so I looked at the most points scored ever scored here. I knew I could do two things really well: assists and points scored. So, and I just backed into it. Like, if I can stay healthy for 4 years, and I can play all 4 years, and you have 30 games a year, whatever. I need to average X to go beat that score, beat that scoring record. Fortunately I did. And, but goal setting was the big thing. So I would say, like, set your goal for what you want to make. If it's $20K a month or $2,000 a month, it doesn't matter. And then back into that. If it's, let's use some whole numbers here and say it's $100,000 you want to make in your first year, and you're flipping, and you can make an average of $20,000 a flip. Well, you need to do 5 flips this year. That's just what your goal is. Yeah. And let's start right there. If it's 1 million, you're going to have to, back into your numbers. If you're only making 20, then maybe it's 50 loans. 50 deals you got to flip that year. So I would say set a goal and work backwards toward it. That would be probably the first. That's what I should tell my coaching students. And then every time we talked, it was like, where are we on that goal? Mm-hmm. That's all we talked about. Where are we on that goal? What are you doing today to go find that next deal? Because we got 5 deals you got to do by the end of the year. Yeah, you've got to make it. I don't even know how you don't make it. Right. So
that's great advice. Something that I've always struggled with is vision boards and goals. And like, I have goals, but like, I don't follow up with them like you're saying. Yeah. Like, I know what I want to do, and then there'll be times in my life where I'm just like, okay, I'm on cruise control right now. It's because I don't follow up with the goals. Yeah. It's because I'm not staying on track with what I need to accomplish. What are those goals and those like check marks I need to check off to continue to hit those and make them bigger and bigger? I appreciate you sharing that, because like, I'm taking that advice right now. Like,
it's good.
Kelli, this has been a fantastic episode.
Thank you guys for having me.
I appreciate you coming on and being with us and taking the time to be here. I know it took us like an hour to set up, so I appreciate you.
I'm impressed, actually.
Yeah, this was awesome. So, before we get off,
yes,
anything you want to tell the viewers and listeners, where to get a hold of you, how to find you, social media, Facebook, where to go to put in deals or borrow money or whatever it is that you want to do?
Obviously, Rehab Wallet is, we talked about it earlier, but go to rehabwallet.com, and there's 2 tabs at the top, and it's, you invest with us or you can borrow from us.
Okay.
And info at Rehab Wallet, if you're looking for a deal and need to email it. And then obviously I'm on social media, Kelli, Kelli Garrett. And I guess on my Instagram, it's Kelli.Garrett too. And we're mostly on social media through our business pages instead of the personal branding page. So obviously follow Rehab Wallet if you don't mind. You'll see a lot of these cool pictures and things that we're doing to work real hard and grit it out and persevere.
Cool. Very cool. Appreciate you being here again. Guys, we'll put that in the show notes as well. Give her a follow. This was a fantastic conversation.
Thank you, guys. It's fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Peace, guys.
That was good, guys.
That was awesome.